Tonight we focus on Jack Smith, a name now central to one of America's most consequential legal and political dramas. As headlines swirl and debates rage, Smith's role has become a focal point for both supporters and critics, making him one of the most talked-about figures in the country today. Smith is a veteran prosecutor, known for his determination and thoroughness in high-stakes cases. Over decades, he's built a reputation for being relentless in pursuit of justice, never shying away from complex or controversial matters. He's tackled public corruption, white-collar crime, and gangs as a federal prosecutor in New York and Tennessee. His work has led to convictions in some of the most challenging cases, earning respect from colleagues and adversaries alike. Internationally, he prosecuted war crimes at The Hague, showing a commitment to justice regardless of power. There he confronted some of the world's most notorious offenders, demonstrating his resolve on a global stage. Back in the U.S., he led the DOJ's Public Integrity Section, investigating corruption among officials. His leadership was marked by a focus on transparency and holding even the most influential accountable. Colleagues describe him as tough, fair, and deeply committed to the rule of law. Many say his work ethic and sense of duty set him apart, inspiring those around him to uphold the highest standards. In November 22, 2000, superstar Bonnie Crantris and Strani Dostu, Attorney General Merrick Garland appointed him special counsel for his independence and experience. The decision was seen as a move to ensure impartiality in investigations that would shape the nation's future. Smith was tasked with overseeing two critical investigations involving former and now current President Donald Trump. The stakes could not be higher, with the eyes of the world watching every development. This thrust him into the national spotlight, demanding fortitude and a steady hand. The pressure is immense, but Smith's history suggests he's prepared for the challenge. Next week, Smith will testify publicly before the House Judiciary Committee, giving Americans a direct look at the man behind these historic probes. His testimony is expected to draw intense scrutiny and could shape public perception for years to come. His journey is one of duty, controversy, and the enduring question of accountability at the highest levels of power. As the nation watches, Jack Smith's actions may help define the boundaries of justice in American democracy. To grasp the stakes, we need to understand the role of a special counsel. A special counsel is appointed when the Justice Department faces a conflict of interest, often involving high-ranking officials. Their job: investigate and, if necessary, prosecute with independence from DOJ leadership. They wield the full authority of a federal prosecutor: subpoenas, search warrants, indictments. While still under DOJ policies, they operate with day-to-day autonomy to avoid political influence. Jack Smith was appointed by Attorney General Garland to ensure impartiality in the Trump investigations. At the end, the special counsel submits a confidential report to the Attorney General, who decides what to share with Congress and the public. This structure aims to balance independence with accountability, especially in politically sensitive cases. Jack Smith's testimony before Congress is about oversight, Congress's fundamental responsibility to keep a close watch on the executive branch and ensure that no one is above the law. This process is a cornerstone of American democracy, where lawmakers scrutinize the actions of federal officials and demand accountability for decisions that impact the nation. The House Judiciary Committee, led by Republican Jim Jordan, has called Smith to explain his high-profile investigations and the reasoning behind his charging decisions regarding former President Donald Trump. Both federal cases Smith brought against Trump have now concluded. One was dismissed by a judge, while the other was dropped by Smith himself, leaving many questions in their wake. With the legal proceedings over, Republicans see a new opportunity to question the investigations they've long criticized as politically motivated, and to press Smith for answers in a public forum. The public hearing, scheduled for January 22nd, comes on the heels of a closed-door deposition last month that was shrouded in secrecy. Lawmakers from both parties spent over 8 hours questioning Smith in private, probing every detail of his investigations. Now, Republicans want to publicly challenge Smith's conduct and conclusions, hoping to sway public opinion and highlight what they see as flaws in the process. Democrats and Smith, on the other hand, welcome the hearing, viewing it as a chance to defend the investigations, clarify their motives, and reinforce their legitimacy in the eyes of the public. Both sides believe a public session will serve their interest. Transparency and vindication for some, accountability and tough questions for others. The hearing will put Smith's work under a national microscope, with the media and public watching every moment. For many Americans, it's a test of whether justice was truly served. or if politics ultimately prevailed in these high-stakes cases. The stakes are high, and the nation will be watching closely as the drama unfolds in real time. This is more than routine oversight. It's a battle over the integrity of the justice system, and the outcome could shape public trust for years to come. Jack Smith led two major federal investigations into Donald Trump. The first, Trump's handling of classified documents after leaving office, hundreds of sensitive files stored at Mar-a-Lago, some recovered in an FBI search. Investigators probed whether Trump willfully retained national defense information and obstructed efforts to retrieve it, leading to a federal indictment. The second, Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election, including pressuring officials, assembling fake electors, and attempting to block certification of the results. Smith's team examined whether these actions amounted to a criminal conspiracy to defraud the United States and obstruct an official proceeding. This probe also resulted in a federal indictment against Trump. Both cases were complex, far-reaching, and placed Smith at the center of a national reckoning. The investigations raised questions about presidential power, accountability, and the rule of law. Their outcomes continue to shape the political landscape. In December, Jack Smith spent over 8 hours in a closed-door deposition with the House Judiciary Committee. Lawmakers from both parties questioned him in detail about his Trump investigations. Smith firmly defended his work, stating his team had overwhelming evidence of a coordinated effort to overturn the 2020 election. He called Trump the central figure in the election interference case, not a bystander but the driving force. On the classified documents case, Smith described repeated attempts by Trump to obstruct justice and conceal records. The released transcript gave the public a first look at Smith's sworn statements. Republicans hoped to expose flaws or bias. Democrats argued the deposition showed Smith's thoroughness, an evidence-based approach. The session set the stage for the upcoming public hearing. It was the first round in a high-stakes public accounting. Now, the focus shifts to what Smith will say when the cameras are rolling. The nation awaits his answers. The move from private deposition to public hearing marks a pivotal moment. On January 22, Americans will watch Jack Smith testify live, no summaries, no filters. Republicans initially resisted a public hearing, preferring a private fact-finding session. After the deposition, they reversed course, believing public questioning would expose flaws in Smith's work. Democrats see the hearing as a chance for Smith to defend his investigations and counter political attacks. Both sides now believe the public forum will serve their interests. The hearing promises transparency, drama, and a clash of narratives. For Smith, it's a chance to present his case directly to the nation. For Congress, it's a test of oversight in political theater. The stakes could not be higher. At the core are Smith's detailed allegations, laid out in 2 federal indictments. In the election case, Smith accuses Trump of leading a conspiracy, using false fraud claims to pressure officials, organizing fake electors, and trying to block certification of Biden's victory. Smith alleges Trump knew his fraud claims were false, aiming to defraud the U.S. and disrupt democracy. In the documents case, Smith charges Trump with willfully retaining sensitive national defense records and storing them improperly at Mar-a-Lago. The indictment details efforts to hide documents from attorneys and federal investigators, including directing aides to move boxes. Smith calls this a grave risk to national security and a clear case of obstruction of justice. In his deposition, Smith reiterated these points, emphasizing repeated attempts to obstruct justice. These are not abstract accusations. They're specific, serious federal crimes. The hearing will force Smith to defend these claims under intense scrutiny. The nation will judge the strength of his case. Donald Trump and his supporters have fiercely rejected Smith's allegations, calling the investigations politically motivated witch hunts. They argue that the timing and intensity of the probes are designed to damage Trump's reputation and undermine his influence in American politics. Trump claims the probes were orchestrated by political opponents to derail his career and block his 2024 run. He frequently points to his ongoing popularity among Republican voters as evidence that the investigations are meant to silence him and his movement. On the documents case, Trump argues he had the authority to declassify records and that the Presidential Records Act protected his actions, claims widely disputed by legal experts. His legal team maintains that previous presidents have handled sensitive documents similarly and that Trump is being unfairly singled out. In the election case, Trump insists he genuinely believed the election was stolen and that his actions were good faith efforts to ensure integrity, not criminal conspiracies. He continues to assert that raising questions about the election is a right protected by free speech. Since returning to the presidency, Trump has escalated attacks on Smith, calling for his prosecution and labeling the investigations as election interference. He accuses the Justice Department of being weaponized against him and warns supporters that democracy itself is at stake. His allies in Congress echo these claims, framing Smith's work as an abuse of power. They argue that the investigation set a dangerous precedent for targeting political rivals. This narrative has energized Trump's base and set the stage for a contentious hearing. Supporters see the proceedings as a test of fairness and a rallying point for the upcoming election. The battle lines are drawn: Smith as prosecutor, Trump as political target. Both sides are preparing for a high-stakes confrontation that could shape the nation's political landscape. The hearing will be a showdown over truth, justice, and the future of American democracy, with the eyes of the nation watching closely. Jack Smith's public testimony is more than a routine hearing. It's a moment of national reckoning. The legal cases have ended, but the questions about justice and accountability remain. The election case was dropped after Trump's return to the White House, citing DOJ policy against prosecuting a sitting president. The classified documents case was dismissed on procedural grounds, leaving the facts untested in court. This hearing is the closest the public may get to a full airing of the evidence. It's a chance for Smith to present his case and for critics to challenge him. Live, under oath. Americans will weigh the evidence and arguments, forming their own verdict in the court of public opinion. The testimony will be dissected, debated, and remembered for years. It's a defining moment for the rule of law and the nation's political future. The stakes are historic. The world will be watching.